Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hellacious Hero Returns. I am Hellacious Hero Joe, and today I want to talk about Dark Metal and the Dark Multiverse in the DC Universe. The stories in the multiverse created by Snyder and Capullo. Just really awesome stuff. Can't say enough about it. It's amazing, and it starts with this right here. Dark Metal. It is just an immense storyline, an immense read. That cover's like, woo, super shiny. Look at the back too. Super shiny. Cool, right? But like I mentioned, I kind of subtly touched on things about it. It's an incredible story with incredible characters, and if you watch the previous episode to this one, there's a bat god called Barbados, and he's kind of like the supervillain in that, kind of like Steppenwolf was in the Justice League movie. Very, very, very similar. Not the most powerful being in the universe, but he's in that story. He's the one that's causing all the havoc. And the Batman who laughs is kind of like an agent for him. And it's funny because Snyder talks about how he was brainstorming the idea for the Dark Multiverse, and he was watching the Cosmos TV series with Neil deGrasse Tyson, the newest one that came out in I think it was 2014, and then Carl Sagan, an amazing astrophysicist, did one I think in the 1980s. Cosmos is awesome. If you guys get a chance to watch the Sagan or the deGrasse Tyson one, they're both awesome. Really check them out if you're in outer space and astronomy and all that kind of stuff. Really neat. But there's an episode on the new one that talks about dark matter, and Scott Snyder was like, I think I might want to explore that and check out, maybe I could create like a universe that's like a dark universe with this dark matter. And that's where the Batman Who Laughs was kind of created and formed, and really everything came from that. But Barbados' goal was to, rise up from this dark multiverse and then take over worlds and destroy them and bring an army to the regular Earth that is in the regular continuity of the DC universe. Basically, bring it to ruins and cloak every universe that's out there and every dimension that's in the multiverse in darkness. That's his goal. And it's funny because it relates to, biblical stuff too. Barbados was a demon of the underworld in hell, which is kind of interesting if you kind of are putting things together, and it's really cool tie-ins and how he came up with all this stuff. But the whole synopsis, it's a really long story, and you kind of have to follow it from beginning to end if you're going to get it. So I'm going to try to break it down here in just tidbits. I kind of gave you guys some backstory already, but it's called Dark Metal because there's these metals that Batman interacted with throughout the Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo run, and there's supposed to be a prophecy that Batman is really the key to. That's supposed to be predicted by the Journal of Carter Hall, who was Hawkman, and when Batman encountered the Court of Owls, he was exposed to the first metal. When he interacted with Joker in Death of the Family, that's the comic with, Joker's face cut off that Scott Snyder and Capullo did. Amazing art. He interacted with a metal in that. Then the third metal he interacted with was this metal that happened when he revived himself in the Endgame and super heavy storylines, where Batman was, supposed to be dead, and there was this machine that brought him, pretty much rejuvenated him. And that's when Commissioner Gordon was Batman for a while with the bat suit. You guys need to check these comics out. They're amazing. The Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo run, like I said, from 2011 to now is insane, and it's not over yet. Then there was another metal he interacted with, and then the final metal was called Batmanium, which is pretty funny, but really cool though. The way it's depicted and created, it's just amazing. But then there's Nth Metal, which all the Dark Knights, it's kind of like kryptonite for the evil incarnations of Batman, the dark incarnations of Batman, when they touch it and they get exposed to it, it hurts them, kind of like Kryptonite does to Superman, like it weakens them. So it weakens them when they come into contact with this Nth Metal. And Nth Metal is the stuff that's in the Hawkman comics. It kept him alive through the generations, if you're not familiar with Carter Hall and Hawkman. So there's that you really need to check out. That's why it's called Metal. I mean, it revolves around, like, these made-up metals. It's awesome. And this whole, like, fictional and fantasy and sci-fi and comic book and horror woven story. And that's why I love comic books so much, because they're, like, everything that I love just mashed together. And you get all of that. You get all of that with this. And in the previous, works from these guys that I mentioned. It's phenomenal. This is truly phenomenal, what they did here. But check it out, because it is incredible. It's a great continuity. There's listings and stuff you guys can look at online to see what reading order you want to read it to. They came out with, like, Road to Metal, which is like a setup for the whole event. Then there's the actual metal itself. There's a couple of things that talk about all the different Dark Knights, which I'm going to show you here in a second, because I actually have that. And just a ton of stuff that you really need to check out if you're interested in this kind of storyline. And I just wanted to share this with you, because I think it's important to kind of see the full picture, and obviously see some of the art too. I want to show you the art in the back of this, because it's insane. These variants are amazing, and as you guys know, variant covers are variations of the original art that was created for the cover. And when you buy the actual comic, sometimes they release variants. Well, not sometimes, all the time. Usually they release variants, but here's some of the art. And I love this one over here, with all the different Batmans from these different dimensions, kind of just chilling. Batman with a Court of Owls mask on. You might think that's Doomsday, but it's not. I'll talk about that later, that character. Wow. Super awesome. Love it. Wonder Woman. Look at that one. Oh, so cool. Black Adam. And then, boop. Really cool. There's the sketchbook here, but that's Barbados. That's the back art I was talking about. Glimpse of what it is, what it's about. Super awesome, super cool, and definitely worth it if you're interested in exploring the metal universe a little bit more. It's an immense event. Really check this out too. Dark Knight's Rising and Dark Knight's Metal. This will give you a glimpse of all the different Batmans, or the nightmare versions of Batman. There's Red Death. He is the Flash. It's like a Flash mashup with Batman. Murder Machine. He's like a cyborg version of Batman. The Drowned over here. It's a female Aquaman and Batman mixed together. Bryce Wayne instead of Bruce Wayne. Pretty cool take on the character. The Merciless is Batman who gets an Ares helmet and he uses a sword, kind of like the Wonder Woman, sort of version. And then Devastator over here is like a Doomsday virus infected Batman. Mixture of the Doomsday virus Batman, which is crazy. Obviously, you can guess that one. The Dawnbreaker. He's a Green Lantern mashup with Batman. And then right here, you guys know who he is. The Batman Who Laughs. Probably the most menacing, and he's the leader of all these guys. He goes through the universes recruiting all of them. And I think this is pretty cool. Here's all their symbols at the end. All the different symbols. You guys can see what they represent, right? But I think that's pretty cool, and that's awesome, and it totally kicks ass. And you're probably wondering why this is back here. Well, this is back here because, I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is... I talked about Batman Nightfall was the first Batman comic I read from beginning to end. The first, comic I ever read from beginning to end. I collect these. These are the Batman cows. And this is from Batman Nightfall. And this is John Paul Valley. In that comic book, like I said, it's the one where Bane breaks Batman's back. John Paul takes up the mantle as Batman. He goes around and starts terrorizing people. And he later becomes the character Azrael. And what's really cool about this, and why I'm pulling this out now, is, yeah, my nostalgia for Nightfall, but... there's a new release from DC Comics that came out pretty recently. And it's Tales from the Dark Multiverse. And like I said, the Dark Multiverse started with Dark Knights Metal. And this is an amazing read. If you look at the back here, you get Nightfall, you get the Death of Superman, Blackest Night, Infinite Crisis, and the Judas Contract. Those are all the titles in this. And you're probably thinking, well, yeah, I read those stories before. And you have. But what this is this is a what-if compilation. And it kind of changes how those stories unfold if it would have happened in the Dark Multiverse, or a universe like the Dark Multiverse. And as a fan of pretty much all these stories, I have to say it's just amazing. And in the back they have this art gallery. It's called Through a Lens Darkly. Variant covers from the Dark Multiverse, and I just want to show you guys some variants because that's what I do. That's Azrael in this one. Check that out. Isn't that cool? Bane's in the background. That's Batman breaking Azrael's back. There's some variants from the Death of Superman. Starfire and Raven from the Teen Titans. And that's pretty much all the variants. And then there's a little art gallery and some shading and sketchbooks in the back of that as well. But I highly recommend it. Just some of the frames in that, and I love how they made... My favorite story in that, as you guys are probably sure, is Nightfall. The reimagining of Nightfall. In the lens of the Dark Multiverse. I love the way Azrael looks. He has like this red suit on, and it's just so badass what they did with the costume. I love the blue. Love that. Love the way that looked, right? But to compare and contrast that, the blue Asbat suit, they call it, to the new red Asbat suit in Nightfall Reimagined. I mean, they're both amazing. I don't know which one I like more, but they're just fantastic. But I highly encourage you guys to check out what I just mentioned. Check out Dark Knights Metal. Check out Tales from the Dark Multiverse in DC Universe, Really, really amazing stuff. Like I said, it kind of just ties everything together. And, I kind of focus on Scott Snyder and his work in the previous episode. But for a second, I just want to talk about Greg Capullo. And, some of my favorite stuff from Greg Capullo. And there's really one thing that I'm familiar with Greg Capullo with before the Batman stuff. I don't know if you guys know what he kind of started off with and drew, and he became really famous for drawing. It's the character by the one and only Todd McFarlane. Let's just get him out of the way first, right? Todd McFarlane is legendary. He has his own toy company. He's a huge baseball collector. He's an awesome dude. Just really smart, down to earth. But his character was Spawn. And Spawn is just a hell of a character. He's so cool. And you can see the influence from Capullo you know, and Scott Snyder, because I mentioned his horror aesthetic and all that stuff earlier too, with American Vampire and the stuff that he wrote and all the crazy stuff he did. But you can see that in their creation of the Dark Multiverse together and the character of the Batman Who Laughs and some of these other nightmare incarnations. Because it's ever present there. It's just, it's there. It's awesome. It's insane. It rocks. And I am so stoked because you would think that they'd be like, yeah, after Dark Knight's Metal, we're done. And I know I talked about Last Night on Earth in the first episode and how great that was and how dark it was.
Yeah, like Joe said, it's amazing. It's Batlicious. Read it now. The Last Night on Earth. It's about Batman, baby. Yeah.
Seriously, get Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on Batman. You know, start with Dark Knight's Metal if you want, because it's kind of like a separate thing, but it kind of ties everything together in a way. Last Night on Earth ties pretty much the whole run together. But it's amazing. But they're coming out with Dark Knight's Death Metal. And they've already released the first couple issues in comic book format. I think that started last month in June of 2020. But I cannot wait for the trades to come out of that. And then hopefully like a big, thick, hardcover, you know, event book of Dark Knight's Death Metal. Some of the artwork for that is insane. I mean, it's like Batman with a scythe. You know, it reminds me of Scarecrow, and he's on a motorcycle, and he has like his leather jacket on. It's like Superman with super long hair, and he has like a doomsday arm. And Wonder Woman looks like a Valkyrie, and she's just like, I mean, it's amazing. I don't know if she has wings or what, but I haven't read the comic yet. I haven't read it, but I've been looking at some of the art, and it's, wow. It is insane. I'm so stoked for that. I cannot wait for that. I love this run. I love this team. And I can't wait to see what they do next. Really, really excited and really fortunate to be a Batman fan and to be a comic book fan at this time. I mean, we are so fortunate. And I'm looking forward to what the future holds for Batman comics, for DC comics, for comics in general. There's a lot of really cool stuff out there. And I cannot wait. Especially, you know, what better time to start reading comics than now with this epidemic and this pandemic and all this stuff going on out there. You can sit at home, pull up a comic, check it out, read it, get into it, you know, get engrossed in something, and just love it, But as always, guys, like, take care of yourselves, do you, never give up, never surrender. That's from Galaxy Quest. Good flick if you haven't seen it. Check it out. Until next time, my friends.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, I got a special delivery for you right here, baby. Oh, yeah.